You may not need this podcast, but I promise you're in the right place. I'm your host, Ben McDougal, with my AI companion and co-host, BenBot. Each week, we're live in the Pour Over Publishing studio to chat with remarkable students, entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, and community builders. Together, we have fun exploring the frontiers of entrepreneurship and technology in Iowa and beyond. If you're a curious leader thirsty enough to make a ruckus, welcome to a friendly jolt brewed to keep you building. Enjoy! Elevation makes us all feel successful, and we're sitting on the mountaintop with my friend Jeff Reed. What's up, dude? Welcome to the studio.
Hey, man. How are you? Glad to be here. Excited. I'm good. I feel like I'm on a mountaintop, actually. Thanks for the intro.
Hey, this is a funny place to start. So we're going to talk about design thinking and a lot of community building aspects, activities that accelerate others. So I'm sitting in Breckenridge, Colorado. Jeff and I have known each other for a kabillion years, and in like the corner of town, just to grab a little coffee on that main street. All of a sudden, I look to my right, and I'm like, no way, that cannot be my friend Jeff Reed. But it was, dude.
Yes.
And you were embarking on quite an experience.
Yes.
Share a short introduction and get us to that too, you know?
Well, I think embarking is a really nice way of saying, like, I was stuffing my face with one of the best breakfast burritos at, like, I don't know, what I would consider the hangover bar the next day.
You needed the fuel, though, man. Those were 14,000 footers.
Oh, they were, yes. So my wife and I were out there. We set the goal to hike 10 14ers in 7 days. And I say only, we accomplished 7. Which is still pretty exciting. We felt good. My wife, I'll be honest, she is a rock star. Had never hiked one. Had never done anything even above 12,000 feet. And we go out there. She crushed 5. I did 2 on my own one day. But yes, when we met, I mean, it had to be a bad look. I was in pajamas. I don't even know. I don't really even remember what time of day it was. I just know that I needed this 20,000 calorie burrito at probably like the best spot.
You earned it too, man. That's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
And I'm curious when you're on top of 14,000 feet. I know that when I snowboard and I get to the top of these mountains, man, there are just thoughts that change, perspectives that shift, feelings that are felt. What comes to mind when you think about those moments?
That's a great thought. There's a lot of thoughts, actually. Being on top, I always tell people, it's the quietest and the loudest thing at the same time. Because there's nothing blocking wind, right? There's nothing blocking anything. You can kind of see even the curvature of the earth. And it's like you're so in the moment, you don't hear anything, but yet the wind is so loud. It's never not windy at the top of the mountain. And so it's kind of this oxymoron of feeling. But when you're up there, for me, it's like you almost can't think. You're just taking it in. You've achieved something. I mean, most of the mountains take 6, 7, 8 hours to get to the top. When you've pushed, you've thought, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. You get to the top, you're kind of spent, but you're also really, really excited to just be there. And it's just a complete dump of dopamine in your brain. You're just stoked to be at the top of the mountain.
Overwhelming is a word that might come to mind.
Yeah, I mean, it is euphoric. I don't know. I really can't explain it unless you've been there, right? And other people, I think, have those experiences. But I think as you go through the path, right, it's resilience. It's being able to dig deep at times. Sometimes it gets easier before it gets harder. And then sometimes it's harder and then gets easier, but then it goes back to being harder. And there's just so many metaphors around mountains that I love, even like false summits. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with what that is, but as you climb the mountains, oftentimes you'll get to a spot and you look up and you're like, oh, there's the top. We are so close. You get to the top of that.
There's more.
And you're like, oh, crap. We are actually like 2 hours away from the top.
That's a hard finish.
It is, right? And I think that goes into a lot of, who we are. I think both of us and what we'll talk about today, but truly just entrepreneurship, being business owners, just being resilient in life and being able to continue to push on. So, but you need that community of people. You need the people that run past you and you're like kind of pissed because you're like, how are you running right now? Because I can barely breathe. But they're always encouraging. You need the people coming down that have already summited because they're saying, hey, you're close, you can do it. You need your hiking partner, right? You need them to push you when you can't, and vice versa. Like, you need it all. And it's weird how there's this community effect with people you don't even know to achieve something that's a common goal for everyone.
Man, we don't even need to talk about all the metaphors that were just mentioned, right? It's very easy to see how all those different actors, factors, and influencers play a role in the physical activity of climbing a mountain, but also, you know, the activity of an entrepreneurial lifestyle. And you know, that's our listeners are enjoying so many different types of narratives around that within this show. So thanks for joining us, my friends. You're in the right place. This is You Don't Need This podcast. And, you know, one of the things that I've always looked to Jeff to learn about, we talk a lot about systems thinking. We talk a lot about computational thinking, different types of mindsets, right, that can help you create process, create momentum. And Jeff is really leaning into design thinking. And so before we go too much further, we never really gave you too much of an intro. You're welcome to share that throughout our time together.
Yeah, for sure.
But
yes.
Let's get a quick 101. When someone says design thinking, can you articulate it so it's not quite as abstract?
Yeah. So it's a great question. So maybe to step back, because I don't think I followed instructions of introing. Name is Jeff. Own a company called Momentum Studios.
You're overwhelmed by the mountain climbing.
You got me there. I want to go buy tickets right now. My wife owns a business in Ankeny, in the process of building out a new innovation studio in Ankeny as well. So when that gets done, maybe we'll host you there. But you're right. Our whole goal is strategy and innovation, and that happens at a lot of different levels with anything from startups to social impact and organizations that we work with. Pertaining to the question of design thinking, you're right. It is systems thinking. And a lot of people, it's just kind of airy words, right? The irony is we actually hate the word innovation because it gets very diluted in today's society. And it's not that we hate it, but it's just something that everyone says, oh, that was so innovative. And you're like, okay, I painted a sign from red to green.
It's an easy, big word that can apply to anything.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, right.
But design thinking is systems thinking. And it's truly an iterative process that is nonlinear for you to solve or find new solutions that may exist, right? And it's just truly collaborative, and it combines designers and end users to arrive at a potential solution. That's it, in its simplest form. A lot of times people mix design thinking and the term human-centered design.
Okay.
Human-centered design is a lot around usability. It's around your UX.
I was going to say, I think of user interface or UI and UX or user experience.
Yes. That's where human-centered design really lives, I would say. And it's something where they'll analyze a problem, they'll kind of design something for it, they'll test it, and then they'll refine it. Where design thinking is different is, yes, you're identifying a challenge. You are going to empathize with people. You're going to work with your end user just as you would in human-centered design. But it's really meant to push and ideate. It's meant to brainstorm, create new concepts, new solutions. And at a certain point, maybe your solution does require using human-centered design tactics because there's usability. But design thinking is really bigger than that. It is kind of a full service, I would say, umbrella to a lot of other project management or a lot of problem-solving methodologies.
So I love the sandbox vibes, right? being able to get creative and not feel like the finality of this decision is going to be forever.
Yes.
However, I wonder, how do you sequence mini milestones so that progress is kind of achieved and you can move forward versus always being in this constant draft?
Yes. So for me, that's a tough question to answer. And I only say that because I don't think any draft is ever
Maybe
final,
it never happens.
right?
Right.
And I think that's where we see and have seen, we did joke a little bit about the pandemic earlier when we were, just kind of BSing in here, but the companies that think they have that final draft, or the solutions that think they have that final draft, right, that they've checked off a box and their solution is there, they stop thinking about what the next best version is.
It could be easy to slip and get behind the innovation curve.
Correct.
And it's okay for a moment, but man, everything's changing all the time, and
Yep.
things that worked in the past you can learn from, but may not always work the exact same. So
Right.
that almost infinite draft mindset, I feel like it would be exhausting at times, though. Like we're never quite done. Like it's the
Yes.
false summit
Yes.
all the time. Maybe there's just no summit.
Yes, maybe there isn't. I'm sure you could ask my wife for sure. Like I know I exhaust her with just ideas of always making things better or different or changing. But I think that fire that burns inside that pushes that kind of thinking is something that's different. It is something that is needed in society, right? It's allowing people that are creators versus consumers. And I would rather be on the creator end, as we see things like AI come out and people are like, oh, this is so cool and it's innovative and it's going to do things. And we hear all the stories about, well, it's cool that it does stuff, but if you don't know what to put into it, you're not going to get what you need out of it. So you still, even though you have tools and as technologically advanced as we can get, if you don't know how to create what you need to, or have the right inputs to get the right outputs, you're already at a disadvantage. And so it is exhausting, but I think I would still rather live there than just be complacent.
Right. Ingenuity will always be valuable. And so I'm wondering, you mentioned the false summit potentially being a misunderstanding. Any other common misunderstandings as you work with folks who might even come into the situation thinking they know what to expect?
Yeah. And by that, like going through the process, you mean?
Yeah, like maybe what's a common surprise? You have to hear some similarities as folks come from start to finish.
Yeah.
And, when you think about the feedback that you often hear, what are some key phrases that come to mind?
I think one, and it is a common misconception, is that innovation is connected to technology. It doesn't mean that innovation doesn't happen within technology, but innovation is its own thing. Innovation can be around an experience, a service, a product. It could be technology. It could literally be how you walk through a line because it provides a better experience. That's still using design thinking from the user's lens to create something new.
I wonder if people who are, high tech think that innovation might not need to be tech, and people who don't have as much, chops for technology lean on technology equaling innovation.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. We see it's like, oh, we have such an innovative office. We've got the USB ports inside of our table. We've got 3 TVs in here. We've got the, sound system, the noise canceling, all whatever. But then you walk in and it's sterile. There's no collaboration. There's no conversation. There's no truly actually like problem solving. There's no initiative, right? It's like
you bought the equipment but forgot the heart.
Exactly. And so the irony of it is, and again, this is maybe a misconception, most of what we use is low tech. It's sticky notes, it's Sharpies, it's whiteboards, and it's not like the gimmicky piece of it. It's just being able to use something that you can move an idea, right? Like when you're trying to create something new, it's about idea navigation. It's about moving something from A to B. Well, if I write it in my computer, it lives in my computer. If I physically put it on a sticky note and I can grab it and pull it and move it somewhere else, or I can rearrange a bunch, I can make an idea very different very quickly. So it's not necessarily the gimmicky piece of those tools, but that's our low tech is our high tech.
One book, if this conversation is triggering, more interest in exploration, it's an older Seth Godin title, but Free Prize Inside comes to mind. It talks about some of this planning, some of this type of draft flavored effort.
Yep.
And I love the analogy it uses. I mean, think of the cereal boxes when you were kids. You didn't care what the cereal tasted like. You were in it for the prize inside, right?
Yep.
And so can you deliver an experience that a customer is overjoyed by, and there's more?
Yes.
You know, without it being like a part of the sales process, a nice surprise will just deepen their experience with whatever it might be. Okay, so we've talked about design thinking kind of 101, some misunderstandings along the way. When you think about the value of content creation, like super quick, because we got to go to break and we got a big question for you coming next. but maybe I want to give you space to wrap a bow on design thinking.
Sure. So, I mean, from a design thinking, I think another book I would just reference is Atomic Habits. The only reason I would use that is it individualizes what design thinking could be. And in Atomic Habits, he really talks about systems. You know, if you get so focused on the goals, that's all you focus on, but you can't achieve those goals if you don't have a well-designed system. And that's what design thinking is. Again, it's a system around customer experience, around how people interact, around how people buy your product, understand your product. And the example you gave, I think one of the examples, and maybe that a lot of people could relate to if I were to give a best example of design thinking in action, would be Chick-fil-A. We reference them a lot. A lot of people don't even consider them fast food, right? They consider them, I mean, it is food, but no one's really like, oh, what do you want for fast food? People think McDonald's, Burger King. And it's not that they're inferior, but Chick-fil-A has done such a great job of building it around experience. And so when you go there, you actually wait in line just as long. They just meet you sooner, so you think you're going faster. It's just an illusion, right? They use positivity, right? My pleasure. They reinforce that. But I mean, I don't know the last time you went through a Chick-fil-A, but you go through the drive-thru, you meet someone, they take your order and you pay. You go to another dude, he's hanging out under an umbrella or in this little like snow booth.
Just to
like,
confirm things, right?
Yeah, like, oh, your name was Jeff, right? And did you need a receipt? And I'm like, no. And then you just pull forward. And then the one in our town, in Ankeny, they literally walk your food from the window outside to get it to you faster, and then you leave. Again, the time is still just as long, but the perception that you're having an upscale experience is there. They have designed an experience in which you feel taken care of the whole process.
Interesting. Great example. All right. So we could spend 2 hours with Jeff. That is the common thread amongst all of these remarkable guests that we bring into the studio. We do need to take a short break, but when we come back, would Jeff Reed choose to live forever? So I just got this shirt in the mail. It's the icon, the logo, the NFT, the representation for You Don't Need This podcast. And it just came out so cool, I thought, maybe I'll make one for you. Huh? It looks sweet under a hoodie. I was trying to think, all right, so I'd buy a t-shirt, sure. But what if there was a digital asset? That thing is a phygital item. It comes with an NFT if we want. Boom. Down the fairway, eh? Check them out. Enjoy.
And we're back with the 7:40 a.m. report here on the podcast that you don't need. This is I'm sorry. We were doing that off break, and I just I feel so just morning radio
I know,
show.
When you put the headphones on, and I'm welcome to AM radio,
dude. There is a different me right now. Like this just internal need to like have some vinyls next to me. Have like some sweet, like some cool buttons, just, I don't know, all of it.
Nice, dude. Well, we asked the big, profound paradox before the break, and you can use that voice if you want, or you could just go after like this idea of would Jeff choose to live forever?
For sure. I think it's, so It'd be weird to say it in this low, deep, like soothing jazz radio voice.
It's not quite deep future.
Yeah, right? Yeah. It's reflective, but not that reflective,
Yes.
right?
Talk to me, guru.
Yeah. It's weird. That is a question I don't think I've ever been asked, like directly.
Yes.
It's always that thing. I think it's inverse. Most people are like, if you knew when you were going to die, would you want to know, right? Like if you could know. But if I would live forever, I don't think so. For me, I think just natural evolution is good. I think passing it on is good. And I don't know, some days I'm like, man, I don't know where we're going to be in 20 years. Like, I mean, hopefully I live more than 20 years. So let's go 120 years. Maybe I don't want to see it, but it could come out on the other side. Who knows? I would say no.
Okay.
I don't think I would. Would you? And would I just keep getting? I have so many questions. Would I keep getting older? Now I'm thinking about my ears and my nose. Those are the two things that continue to grow in your body. So like in 300 years, is my nose going to be down to my shoulder and my ears down to my hips? Like, I know those are weird thoughts,
all evolved
man.
into elephants.
Yeah, right?
Elephants are the
right. That's like
the deep future, forever living species.
I mean, kind of. It's a real thought, though, right?
That's hilarious. I asked Alex Myers this, who's a certified futurist.
Oh,
so check out that episode as you take a look at this library of awesomeness.
Yeah.
And he had an interesting perspective. He basically his thesis is I might get bored.
Yeah.
I've traveled the universe. I've done all the painting. I've ridden in all the cars. I've had all the children. And so he suggests that 200 years would be enough for him. And I don't know if there's a certain number that comes to mind. I like the idea of making an impact and living multiple lives in the time that we have.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful, and I'll tell you straight up that I feel like I've done that. I don't say this publicly very often, but I could be done here and be very grateful for all that has been this time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's common. So I have deep gratitude for that mindset. And that said, like the work that I do has like a thread of building a legacy. And BenBot will keep me alive forever, So I got BenBot in the studio, and
you're right. You know what?
But
let's be done today.
The content
Give me a virtual
that we're creating, the impacts that we're making, the relationships that we're nurturing, like this is long-term stuff. And so I got a random question for you too. If you had dinner with one person, who might it be?
Ooh,
and while you think, I'll cheat and answer it with, I think mine would be Seth Godin and all of my descendants. So I say one and then I give like totally altered answer. But that would be an interesting thing to see, like, okay, I've got one child, and then, how does that happen through the family tree? I'd find that to be quite a dinner.
Hopefully, like, Genghis Khan wouldn't answer the same way because he's related to, like, everyone, right? But
you'd have to have Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, right? Who would I have dinner with? Man, that is a great question because you kind of go you go all levels. You go astronomical. You're like, all right, give me the star, the athlete, the thinker, whoever it is. I think who it would be is my, and it's family, but it would be my great grandma on my mom's side. She's someone who passed away when I was young. Never got to meet her. But every person. So, and I don't know if you have this in your family, but every person that talks of her talks about how she was the best person in the world. And it's not just family. It is everyone I've ever met from her hometown, everyone that like has ever interacted with her. And it's like there's something so special that I maybe missed out on, but to just, I don't know, have one meal, have 1 hour together to glean a little bit of that, that's probably who I'd meet with. Interesting.
And Jeff, I've heard that we may pass away. And once that occurs, what do you think people will say about you?
Wow. Boy, we got really real in here today. It started out with mountaintops and legacy.
Hey, you're the one that opened us up with AM Radio Star.
This is true.
you go. No editing required.
Yeah, no editing at all.
While you think about such a big question,
yeah.
let me see what BenBot says about this question of would you choose to live forever? It says, no, I don't think so. While there are many benefits to living a long life, I believe that life is finite and should be enjoyed to the fullest. The idea of living forever is exciting in theory, but I think it would become monotonous. That's a fun vocabulary word, and potentially unbearable over time. And so that's BenBot's perception on infinite life. I think there's versions. I mean, we look at the deep future, uploading consciousness, and I know this is super nerdy, but I would suggest that content creators have a head start.
Yeah.
Like if you want to feel connected to Ben McDougal in 200 years, there are relics along the way that would allow you to plug into it, and you don't need to have dinner with me.
No.
I'm with you.
Yeah, it's not hieroglyphics. It's like just check out my
There's
I don't know,
plenty.
archived Facebook profile.
Right. I've written every week for over 3 years. There's plenty of content, as do other people. And so my encouragement, I think, for listeners is to recognize the value of long-term content creation. And as those mountains of media compile, stay organized so that even if you are talking with yourself privately, others can potentially interact with that value in the future. Or let's get bold. Let's ship that art and allow others to interact with you in creative ways.
Yeah.
So, all right, back to the big question. Jeff Reed, you are a lover of humans, man. You and I enjoy accelerating others together. We'll talk about community building here in a moment, but I can't stop thinking about what people would say once I'm gone. And I'm curious how that made you think.
I just hope that people know I cared. And
Care is scarce, bro.
It is, right? And maybe it's beyond care, like that I do at the end of the day love people and see people as people, right? And I know that may sound somewhat cliche of things that are out there, but I just want people to know that I care. I care about them. I care about the serendipity, the random connections, I actually care the fact that we've talked about meeting in this dive restaurant in Colorado, and I show up and I have this super sweet Colorado mug. Like it's just care, right? I know someone cared about me. So at the end of the day, I just hope people know I cared.
Yeah. And I don't think it's cliche. I think it's easy to say.
Yeah.
But it's not easy to execute and be action driven around. And some of the work that you do in the community is signals of reality around that thought, right? I mean, we interacted as you were a mentor with Techstars. I've seen what you're doing in Ankeny's Apex program, which is that neat kind of blurring the line between classroom and community. You're going in and accelerating students and fellow entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, larger companies. What comes to mind when I say community building?
Community, wow. I think it's being a resource to connect the dots. I think what I get to do is truly a gift, right? It is something that, because at the end of the day, I work with so many individuals, organizations, and it's solving complex challenges. I sit at this weird intersection of getting to see so many challenges, but getting to see so many solutions that solve different things. But maybe company A couldn't apply the solution, but this social impact organization could use it, right? It's kind of weird to be at that middle road of that. And I think that's truly the community piece, right? Putting others first, being able to connect the dots. And I tell my wife all the time, like, if money wasn't necessary to live, I would do what I do for free. And it is. I mean, it's part of Techstars. It's Give First. It's part of what the Des Moines Startup Group is. Give First. I think when you go in with that intention, good things just naturally happen, right? But people, and you've been around a lot of groups, startup groups, community groups, people that don't have that, they fizzle out very quick in those groups. And they're also kind of like, you have a room of people, and then it's like this tall giant walked in, and everyone can just point them out that they're not authentic, they're not genuine, they have an ulterior motive, right? And I think those of us that truly give have stuck together. And I mean, I think that's what community building is, right? It's this group, it's this alliance that no one owns. It is a collective of all of our beings, our experiences that make us unique.
One of the things, take a peek at the community chapter, and you don't need this book, my friends. There's so many different little articulated thoughts around how to interact in a community to, work through the lens that Jeff just shared. But one of the things I think about real tactically is like, what's a fun question you love to ask so that what do you do never happens.
Yeah. That's my least favorite thing. Like you meet someone like, oh, hi, I'm Jeff. Oh, hi, I'm Ben. Oh, well, what do you do? Oh, I work for this company and this is my title. It's like that defines you.
Yeah. So what's a question that gets you deeper faster?
Really, I love to just meet someone, get their name, and be, maybe they say where they're from, and I'll be like, that's awesome. So it's great to meet you. What is like your favorite drink to order at a coffee shop? And it's not even that weird of a question, actually, but everyone goes through the motions so much, right? Everyone's just so used to, they walk down the hall and they're like, hey, happy Monday. And they're like, then they respond incorrectly. They're like, well, good. How about you? And they didn't even listen, right? They're just going through the motions. So to ask someone what their favorite coffee drink is when you meet them, again, it's very incremental, but it just disrupts their thought process. And they're like, and it almost catches them off guard, but it engages a different conversation.
It might not need to be a specific question. It just needs to be different enough to spark that jolt.
Yeah. Truly anything, right?
Yeah.
Or it could be a compliment. Like you meet them and you're like, man, I love those shoes. Where did you get those from? Mm-hmm. Just something that most people don't ask.
My friend Nick O'Brien up in Milwaukee has an interesting concept around like when you introduce someone to someone. I wish I would have been a little more prepared and have this like 4 options that most people lean into. It's not uncommon. I'll give you one example. Hey, meet Kate. She's doing this. And your first response is, that's amazing. And then you kind of share a similar story, but often subtly one-up it.
Yeah.
And so now all of a sudden you're trying to find this alignment when you have nothing that bonds you.
Yeah.
That's another reason why people talk about the weather when they don't know each other.
Which is so who really gives a shit?
You can't. Come on, I can't edit that. But
sorry.
Yeah, but there's no there's nothing that bonds them, right? So this is something that we share. As you are the artist of connection, and for others who are introducing folks, because connectors become connected, so it's a huge opportunity to build your engaged network. Learn how to introduce someone so that they can be on an even playing field, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's, hey, this is Jeff Reed, and I would love for you to talk to him about mountaintops. Like maybe there's a topic that jolts them versus, hey, let's talk about, our title at the company we care about.
Yeah. I think you hit it there. Actually, how you open this is quite honestly like the best intro to anything ever, because you made it about me as a person. Actually, my least favorite thing is when I go speak or do a workshop or talk to people and you got that person up there and they're like, let me introduce you to Jeff Reed. He is the owner of this company, and he has
written introductions are so uncomfortable.
It's cringy. It's cringy for the audience,
and
but it's
oftentimes,
worse.
as a speaker, you supplied it, so you
I
feel
know.
so self-serving.
I know, and I'm just like, and I tell people, I'm like, just say nice things, like, oh, this is Jeff. You know what? Who cares about credentials? Like, talk to him about mountaintops. That might be, I'm just going to roll with that. The next time I have to get introduced.
Nice. And I often come on stage and I'm like, well, that was well written, thank you. And sometimes they'll grab it from an outdated source. That's even more worse.
Yeah. Like, where'd you get this? We got that on your Yahoo profile. And you're like, what?
Well, my most recent one's on MySpace.
Yeah. Tom, he was my friend.
Dude, and did you hear the track I dropped last week on that?
No.
Oh, man. I've always got the best music on my MySpace profile.
Dude, that was when coding was real.
That's how lots of kids...
That's how I learned.
Like the NES generation
yeah, dude.
learned HTML through MySpace.
It was like, oh, I want that background. little bit of code.
Totally.
Done.
Dude. Well, I mean, when we dropped Gathering of Gamers, if you recall, I built a social network back when MySpace was cool.
Yeah.
And it was for video game enthusiasts. And I always took a lot of like joy in knowing that I was one of your 2 first friends. Automatically, baby.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, Jeff, this has been a gift. I was not knowing quite what to expect. We could often talk at length about many things. But I think today we really hammered on a lot of very interesting topics. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, man. It was great.
This has been a treat. As we close down, we do this every show. We want to make sure there's, of course, show descriptions. And as you're listening, click around, right? Jeff's got a lot of cool things going on, and we'll make sure that we link to everything. But when you think about a listener who might want to interact with you, let's share how they can stay connected with Jeff Reed. And as we do, this is going to be a hard mic drop moment for the type of conversation that we've shared, but the microphone is yours, my friend.
Okay. All right. I feel like you use the artist of connection. And so I feel like that's where the deep voice comes in. If people want to connect with me, definitely on LinkedIn, shoot me a message. You can, like you said, you'll put the details there, but I'm open to text. We were joking about chat. If you're a Discord or a Slack person, whichever you are, we're accepting of both. Email jeff@momentumstudios.io. So feel free to connect any of those ways. And the mic drop moment, it's weird. You've sent me the notes. I've thought about it today. I've still never landed somewhere until our conversation, actually, which is great because it brought it out and it will feel authentic. But I would leave it with a quote, and it is my favorite quote and very fitting. But the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of You Don't Need This Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this weekly dose of innovative energy. Thanks to all who make this show possible. Be sure to smash that subscribe button, and I'd love to learn more about what you're building. Hit me up over at benmcdougal.com, and until next time, may the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows. Keep building. We just recorded an award-winning show. Easy money.
All right, Joe Rogan, what you got, baby?
Next.
Yeah. All right.
That's a little gift for you, and it's actually kind of a special gift. Seth Godin, you need to pick up Song of Significance. It's his latest book. I'd give you one, but I didn't bring it with me. But this is a special thing because when you there's a special bulk package that I invested in that comes with 25 of these booklets, and know that you're one of 25.
I was just gonna say I am one of 25.
Correct. So it's a special thing, but I know you are a leader, and we need to lead together.
Well, then we should have we should get the 25 together.
I wish I would have wrote down who I gave them to.
That's what you should try and go back. We should get the 25. We'll just call the group the 25.
The 25, and they'll know.
Yeah, we'll just know. It'll be like a
I'll send it out on X, and no one will read it, and then we'll somehow. We'll make like a sign in the sky.
There you go.
Okay. I'll prompt BenBot, who's in the studio, to see what it thinks during our time together. That's my AI companion and co-host.
All I expect is bleep, bloop, bleep, bloop.
Dude, I wanted to get a creepy Teddy Ruxpin in the studio, bro.
Oh man, that is a throwback with the discs.
Dude, I told the architect, can we hack Teddy Ruxpin? And it didn't come to reality yet.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe season 2.
All right. Okay. I'll be on the lookout.
Would you like to sponsor our Teddy Ruxpin?
Yeah. The cassette collection that goes with him. What'd you do for advertising this year? Billboards, digital? No.
Nah.
Teddy Ruxpin cassettes.
Dude. Well, I think of R.L. Grime, who's coming out with a new album. He's releasing them with 3 SD cards.
What?
That's his delivery method, and I find that remarkable.
I do too. I mean, sometimes they're...
Should I wear these?
There you go.
All
I love it.
I've never worn these. I've never worn sunglasses for an episode.
I mean,
of all the guys that I feel comfortable being silly with.
Well, and I have glasses on, right?
Yeah.
They're just not like photo grays. So, I mean, but we can feel like we both kind of have this mystique about us. You're a little more like Maverick-esque.
Yeah.